to order and to martial are the same thing. This video is about Dambe, the Hausa butcher caste, lower caste form of fighting. They would trade and they would fight with each other, and they were the butchers of the animals, the only ones who were said to be qualified, if I'm not mistaken. And this is also found in southern Niger and in Chad. Okay, so these are the northern Nigerians. The Menon almost certainly stands for man on. The man Obi, obelisk Obi, I'll ask. So this, of course, is from the movie Scorpion King, right? They are celebrating the Scorpion King, who is a follower of Min and Set, and not Haru. And certainly the standards that are found on the Narmer palette, at first I thought it was a leopard, but now I believe it is a jackal and a hawk to represent the different belief systems that were vying for power for the seat of the pharaoh, and to determine the direction of Egypt, where Haru is the archetype of pharaoh, and we see this continuing throughout Egypt. All my life, different social groups and even boxing, fighting groups and gangs have put a special emphasis on getting me to do things I was not supposed to, and things that are unhealthy, and trying to use that to say that I am unworthy, or to put a smear campaign against me. And then in 2011, it really became intense on the anniversary of my uncle's death, when I was taken to the psych ward. Okay, this is significant. My uncle graduated top of his class, you know, at UC Santa Clara. He went to law school. UC Berkeley, I believe he graduated valedictorian there as well, if I'm not mistaken. I am the man Igbo, and also he became a professor. All my family members are pretty much successful. My dad, his two brothers, my mom, her brother, her sister, you know, doctors, lawyers, etc. Okay. I am the man Igbo. The reason they lie about Egypt, black, white, Jewish, Asian, everyone, I am the reason. Set is a representation of the spirit or idea of the primitive brute force competition, like UFC fighting, right? If you see people who call themselves Christians and they do things that aren't Christian-like, are they Christians? Of course not. You know, beating each other up. Man is the image of God. You don't beat up the image of God. You use light contact. This is a no-brainer. It's irreconcilable. It's irrefutable, undeniable. You know, little kids should be able to tell you that. The Old Kingdom proves the world's inability to accept Haru the Elder and the true message and direction of God. The Pharaoh is God's greatest work in mankind, and the sun is the greatest proof in nature. It reveals things to us. It helps us understand symbolically and otherwise. In fact, it even gives us life, right? It feeds the plants. It gives the plants energy, you know, photosynthesis. We see the solar panels being erected, and on and on and on, you know. It marshals the planets and so on. Why would any people or individual reject him? And of course, it's a matter of seeing it with the naked eye, right? You don't need unnatural telescopes to see the sun and to figure things out. This is the natural message of God. So anyway, why would any people or individual reject him? Why would they reject him? Why would any woman see herself as above him? Right? This is stupidity. And we'll get into that in a second, the true meaning of intelligence, the true scale. Okay? I'll explain to you why that is at the end. Okay? They are blind, and that is the main reason he is Pharaoh. So is the wise man considered blind? Well, why use sight as an explanation, right? Because what you can naturally see in nature because of the sun. It's a no-brainer, right? All right. And of course, you have Prometheus is stealing fire from the gods, right? And it helps you see at night. The owl, you know, has a great vision at night, I believe. It's a great hunter at night, and nonsense like this is really a big fluffy bitch. Okay. Haru martial arts sight. House A is the bull from the source. Hor A is the true face of the hawk pharaoh. Okay, so you see the statues, right? Figure it out, right? The figure, the face. Okay, so the bull is kind of big, strong, slow-moving person, a brute, an ogre, etc. I go over this quite a bit. And of course, if there was something wrong with me, would I explain it this way, right? Of course not. These things are logical arguments. These are irrefutable arguments. They hide from the argument. They hid from my challenge. They hide from the truth. Hades hides. Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Jackal, Mr. Hyde. It's no brainer. Pharaoh is to bear And Pharos is house of light, right? Pharaoh, the Pharaoh. Okay, he bears the light, not Lucifer. He bears the true light of God, not covering up the light with the bull and then bringing the flame of Prometheus, right? The flame of the Statue of Liberty, the bitch shit, okay? The bullshit, the bitch shit. The Bible is by the bull, told by Seth's allies, men, Amun, Apep, etc. Okay, so when we look at it, the genealogy, Genesis, right, genes of Isis, right? Isis is not even part of the Haru, the elder. He's the only begotten son of Ra, not the baby son of Osiris, right? Okay, so Seth is also part of the genealogy in the Bible. I believe Seth replaces Abel, right? A bull replaced by a jackal. Okay, now a lot of things in the Bible are true. It's a fairly complete system of morality, but you really have to read between the lines and think hard and put it into context and seek the kingdom of heaven and not accept the first thing that the wolves in sheep's clothes tell you. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothes. The people that killed Jesus gave you the Bible. They compiled it, right? The councils in the Roman Empire, right? These, Romulus was raised by wolves, the wolf and the woodpecker, not even the eagle of Rome, okay? Which is not exactly the same as the hawk, but there are similar ideas. All right, so erect penis, hard on. Thinking with dick. This is what Men's represents. His cult center is said to be in Upper Egypt. In the book, it was said to be in Lower Egypt in Chemis. Either way, it really doesn't matter too much because they both agree that the trade routes were included and Men was accepted all the way in Syria and so on. Okay, so, and the trade routes are said to go to the Red Sea, the Eastern Desert, and all these things are consistent. So Hausa chose brute force to address the West, and Igbo chose the mind and surgical strikes on the corrupt politicians. So we look at the Nigerian Civil War, the Biafran War, right? The sun, the yellow sun, right? The red, the black, and the green, what it means to the occult, the betrayal of Eri by Neri, worldly, the principle of evil, darkness, and worldliness, and the sun really not, is not lighting up the flag because it is being betrayed by its own kinsmen, okay? Tears of the sun. And of course, in the movie, we see that he's betrayed by one of the people following him, and he says he has a tracking device, right, technology, and he says that they have his family. So he put his family above the true direction of God. We'll get into that at the end. Okay, so Seth would slay desert people in a brute force fight, and Haru used light contact. So Seth would say, every day I am the champion, is probably the best interpretation of his brute force argument. Every day he defeats these guys, right? They either are put away or when they come to accept his challenge, he beats them up, okay? Dambe, a kickboxing art of the Hausa that used to include wrestling, okay? So it's kind of a UFC, similar to UFC fighting. And they would also dip their hands in resin, the right hand, their strong hand, and in glass, like I believe it was Kickboxer with Van Damme, where that guy rapes his girlfriend or whatever she was to him, and he fights him at the end, and they dip their hands in glass, right? This is touching on reproduction, the principle of evil to try to throw the guy, mess up the guy's focus, and so on. Okay, so we have Hausa, and then we have Guile, right? Guile, the cunning, the snake, okay? He's an American soldier, right? He has a certain typical soldier body type. And we have Ken versus Ryu, which represents American karate versus Japanese, and they both have the same Japanese source, but they don't go to the real source of that, which is the Narmer palette, where you have the servant, who's a shorter guy with the kind of sun gate, Shinto gate on his neck, okay, on his necklace, all right. And so that almost certainly is an African idea that traveled about when the African tribes, warrior tribes, left Africa and traveled to different nations. So I, King A, the perspective of King A, the hawk, right? Not the bull. He's a smaller guy. He's a small statue showing it's the ability to maneuver, which is emphasized, and not the height or the strength. But of course, if someone's tall and can outmaneuver someone small, he's the king. So I, King A, because yam or trade to prove manhood. Okay, so the machete became the yam, or a symbolic of trade to prove manhood, and not martial arts prowess, which is a mistake. Okay, which is a betrayal of God, right? This world versus the spirit of the hawk grace, the spirit of God to portray superior sight. Stick fighting is also, I forgot the definition of it, I'll put it in the end. It means, proving your point straight to the point, right? It is an ancient art of Egyptian, and also these are transferable skills, from sparring. Okay, it doesn't take long to learn how to use your stick and maneuver and dodge and stuff the same way you spar. Okay, so this also shows the betrayal of ancestors when they turned it to yam and so on, and the witches, the feminists, binary, the feminists, the witches, the criminals, and other worldly people in the greater Igbo nation. Okay, Tears of the Sun also proves my point. Vegan movement, it has to do with the lettuce. The lettuce, you would rub the lettuce and a white cream would come out of it. So lettuce was associated with men, the Egyptian lettuce specifically. So they say aliens built the pyramids, right? The shorter guy with a big forehead, you know. To make a long story short, the camera overemphasizes my forehead. I look very handsome in real life. You know, you'll have to trust me on that. I believe they designed the cameras to emphasize the forehead, to play out the person. They've been coming out with this kind of leopard print to confuse you about the difference between Dionysus, Bacchus, you know, Bess, okay, and the leopard of Bess and them, versus the leopard of Ra, the cat, the Heliopolis, with the lightsaber at hand slaying apep. They're not the same. Okay, one of them is about Pan representing all of paganism, converse all stars, versus the sun, which is the true symbol of God's sight, the true perspective of God, not some dark side bitch shit. Okay, they can't even reveal itself in the light unless it is the moon, but the moon is supposed to be subservient to the sun. It marshals the planet, not the moon. It has the intense light. Think about high frequency telephone pole, not the moon. I tell you the truth on ancestors. I have made minor mistakes, but I never made a mistake about being the top martial artist. And the true direction of martial arts ends with me not pronouncing an error with my martial arts insight. How could I know that I'm not going to have a son and I'm not going to settle down unless I am right about being targeted and everything else, basically? Okay, they drugged, fumed, and cheated me, okay? But they still could not defeat me. So they drug, fume, and cheat, but could not defeat. Haru has won the last contest, and by God, did my videos get slowed down or some programming effect to take away from my presentation. And yes, many were aware, and many worked together to sabotage me. So now let's talk about the true scale of intelligence. I posted this on my Facebook. Okay, the degree of triumph and the techniques you use. Life is like mind, body, soul sparring with the system, with the Spirit of God, right? Mental sparring or warring with the system. Number one, God over family, race, etc. This leads to being targeted, no exceptions. The acceptance of a transcendent individual journey. Okay, so when you're targeted, they're all working together. All the groups work together. Not the Republicans, not the police alone, not these groups alone, but everybody. The political groups, the social clubs, the gangs, everybody. Okay, so acceptance of the transcendent individual journey. This person has to transcend controlled opposition, all this. If they're part of a controlled opposition group, you know, a control, you know, the troll that cons, you know, and trolls people on the internet, they're automatically, you know, disqualified. So raising kids by example and a willingness to risk them. You need to be willing to sacrifice yourself and everybody else for God. And that is also shown in the Tears of the Sun. That guy put his family over the leader of the tribe and everyone who's with him, right? That's selfishness, okay? And of course, the future generations, because they need this person to lead the way. He is the light. He bears the light. He shows the way, okay? He's the sun revealing the truth in the way. Transcending everything, including misleading spiritual systems. I'm running out of time. I have to shoot through this. Number two, choosing pure truth through intense martial arts lifestyle with an emphasis on sparring success. A willingness to apply truth in selfless works. Okay, your works, faith without works is empty. Lip service, presentation is empty without application in truth. Three, restoring the divine order and defending it. Being uncontrolled, including by controlled opposition. At this point, a willingness to accept that there is no divine order and you have to bend over, you have to fight to the death as an individual on the hope that God will forgive you and your ancestors, because you are the works of your ancestors, right? Snakes, breeding snakes. I don't have time to explore that. When choosing a mate, using the scale of mind, body, soul, and pure righteous spirit of sacrifice for God, right? With the Pharaoh as the ideal man, and shedding light on reproduction with true consistency with these ideas. Haru the Elder, the only true son of Ra, as Pharaoh and God's messenger, with the heart and not the brain, martial arts sense, and not science as the true form of intelligence. See how there's a sense of urgency? I'm almost out of time, 15-minute limit. A life of preparing for a righteous death and transformation passing over. If you think that there is something wrong with me, and that I'm not right about this, So help me God, there is something wrong with you. And it probably has to do with the psychological construct of the conformist cowards that did not grant me my rightful place in the eyes of the masses. Thank you.